Hi, Gerhard Bloom here, once again, looking at the tyranny and the delusions of the social justice movement. So I'd like to look at the rape crisis in Europe. What? There's a rape crisis in Europe? Oh yeah. You can, however, be excused for not being aware of it because the media and politicians have been deliberately, willfully suppressing evidence of this fact. Right? And recent dramatic rise in sexual violence across Western Europe. And this is in a context where sexual violence had been declining for decades, right? Decade after decade. Decline in sexual violence and rape across Western Europe. Now we see a rapid and dramatic rise in rapes. This should give you some clue as to why the media and politicians might be willfully suppressing the fact here, right? Why might that be? Because this dramatic rise, this epidemic of rapes and sexual assaults across Europe is being fueled by Muslim immigrants. This isn't me being racist or bigoted or Islamic phobic. No. This is what the data tells us, right? The data tells us. The data is not racist, it's data, right? Across Western Europe, women are now being sexually terrorized on the streets by recent Muslim immigrants and a significant number of second and third generation Muslims. Right? This is a reality. Right. You've been told, we live in a rape culture. This is delusional, absolutely delusional, right? Leftists, across college campuses, rape culture. These privileged, stupid kids think they live in a rape culture. They've obviously never been to outside the borders of Western Europe or the United States or Canada, right? Across the world, sexual violence is a huge problem, but there is now a significant rape subculture in Western Europe, and it's Muslim immigrants and even second, third generation Muslims. Right? So women are growing increasingly fearful. Their ability to wander the city freely, to take a subway or visit city parks is rapidly disappearing, right? They're being aggressively harassed and assaulted. Right. There are increasing numbers of no-go areas for women day or night, right? They cannot go to areas of their cities, right, day or night. Simply unsafe, too unsafe. And as regards no-go areas, right, by the year 2000, the French police had confronted nearly 1,000 such areas, right? This is France, right? No-go areas, right? Unless they respond in significant force, police, ambulance vehicle, fire vehicles, and ambulances can't go into these areas, right? It's like they're in a war zone, right? In France, right? Inexcusable. It was thought that, once immigrants arrived to the countries that welcomed them in, generously offering them refuge from the countries that they're fleeing from, they would adopt the prevailing cultural norms, but no, they show absolutely no signs of assimilating. And of course, for the social justice warrior, well, this is just great, right? Why should they have to assimilate, right? All cultures are equally as valid, right? Didn't you know that? All cultures equally valid. What happens, right? What happens when the cultural values inherent in some cultures collide with the values and cultural commitments that we hold, right? You know, maybe on issues such as child marriage, genital mutilation, honor killings, right? I don't like those. No, those aren't cultural commitments that I'm the least bit comfortable with. Turns out they're against laws, right? Against the laws. So, well, in the context of Western Europe, right, it's not the Muslim immigrants that are assimilating. They're simply not. That's a reality. There's all sorts of data to back that up, right? So it's Western women who are being coerced into assimilating, right? Western women are now being coerced into adopting the oppressive cultural practices of Islam, right? Increasing numbers of women avoid leaving their homes at all, if it's at all possible, right? They must now dress to avoid drawing unnecessary attention to themselves. You know, just ridiculous, right? They seek now, wherever possible, to travel in the company of a male, and at a number of large festivals in Europe, gangs of Muslim men have swarmed women and perpetrated mass sexual assaults, right? And later, officials, they deny anything happened. Oh, nothing to see here, folks. And police and politicians parrot that same nonsense, right? And, you know, why are they doing this? Well, they don't want to fuel Islamophobia, right? So, you know, the governments are standing by as this cancerous rape crisis is just growing, right? In Germany, recently, 10 Muslim immigrants, predominantly from Syria, right, gang raped an 18-year-old girl, right? These guys should be lined up against a wall, right? Absolutely. An ugly but isolated incident? Oh, no. This happens all the time, right? Check out the Rotherham scandal in England, because what I'm about to tell you will strike you as utterly unbelievable. No, Rotherham scandal, right? Happened in England, right? The city or town of Rotherham. 1,400 girls, yes, 1,400 girls were subjected to sexual violence and forced into prostitution by a gang of Muslim men. This was transpiring for about a decade. The police and the politicians, they knew all about it, and they suppressed it, and they did absolutely nothing, right? They knowingly stood by as these girls were being sexually terrorized. And why did they fail in their most basic duty to the public? That's right. They didn't want to be accused of this imaginary offense of Islamophobia, right? Or stoking racial hatred, right? I don't imagine any of their children was caught up by this gang. No. Their children weren't being terrorized, so we can just safely walk away from this, right? Example after example illustrates the recent and dramatic rise in rapes, right? Frequently gang rapes across Europe, coincidental with the flood of recent Muslim immigrants. Even a cursory examination of the statistics bears this out. In country after country, populations with a high recent Muslim immigration population has experienced a recent and dramatic rise in rapes. There is no country in Western Europe that has seen a recent rise in Muslim immigration that has not also seen a recent and dramatic rise in sexual violence, including rape, right? And the most shameful harassment on the street of women, right? So, and once again, I remind you, this is in a context where rape and sexual violence against women have been declining for decades in Europe, right? It is a simple but unwelcome fact that Islamic belief and cultural practices permit, implicitly or explicitly, the sexual attack against women who are seen as violating Muslim standards of dress and propriety, right? This happens also in the Muslim world, right? Recall here the violent gang rape and sodomy of the reporter Laura Logan in Egypt's Tahrir Square during the Arab Spring, right? And as of 2013, right, CNN reported about the mobs of men that routinely attack women in Tahrir Square, right? These are Muslim women, and they're stripped away from their friends, and they're stripped of their clothing, stripped naked, and they're gang raped, right? This is in Tahrir Square, day or night, right? What's the message here? It's the message to women that their presence is not welcome, right? In 2013, a young Dutch female journalist, yes, required surgery and hospitalization after just such an attack. We need to stop denying the obvious, right? Far too many Muslim immigrants, when they come to the countries that are kind enough to welcome them in, pack their fascist ideology with them. They should be sent back to the shithole countries that they came from. Oh, shithole countries, oh, I'm offended. I don't care if you're offended, right? In case you missed the reference that the Donald made, these are countries where when you need to relieve yourself, you need to squat over a hole in the ground, right? Frequently, fly-infested, stinking hole in the ground. So if you're lucky enough to escape such a country and being welcomed into the Western world, you should be grateful. That should be your attitude, right? Gratitude. Not trying to Islamize the country that welcomed you in. At any rate, I do discuss the cultural commitments and the history of Islam. I talk about the history that Muhammad preached, right? And a word of caution here: you cannot presume to judge the constellation of beliefs and commitments a person has by virtue of their identification with Islam. They might be moderate and modernist Muslims, may very well believe in the value of freedom and dignity and practice a moderate and restrained Islam, but Islam is a fascist ideology. The sexual slavery, yet Muhammad had sexual slaves. Child marriage, yeah, he married a 6-year-old girl and consigned her to a life of sexual and domestic slavery. This happens across the Muslim world, right? Killing for offending the dignity of Islam. Oh, Muhammad did that. So there is no accidental relationship between the sexual violence, honor killings, child marriages. No. This is Islam. And you can pretend to ignore the truth or this ridiculous notion that all religions are basically the same. They're not all the same. If they were the same, there would be one religion. There isn't. And Islam is a toxic constellation of beliefs and practices. So yes, do check out my book, Deconstructing Social Justice. It's available on Amazon. Not important because I wrote it. I wrote it because the issues could not be more important. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Please do drop a thumbs up. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.